Remove the driver's side road wheel and jack up the car onto axle stands. Next, remove the inner wheel arch, plastic, and it's T20 Torx, and there's 10 of them. And just give it a good tug to release it. Then use a flat-headed screwdriver to release the cap from the auxiliary drive belt tensioner. Then you release the drive belt tensioner using a T50 Torx. I think you can see the 5.0 there. And you put that on the end of a long bar to give you tension, to give you leverage, and you pull it up so you're actually going anti-clockwise to release the tensioner. Sorry, this is focused on my jumper, but I think you can see it there. So you pull that up and just give you enough just to slip off the belt tensioner. Next, disconnect the electrical connector at the coils, and there's 3 of them. And you just pull that back and you pull up, give a twisting action on the coils to release them from the top of the spark plug. Disconnect the injector's electrical connections. Next, remove the cover from the top of the battery and release the negative first. It's a 10mm bolt if I remember. And then pull away the negative lead. Sorry, I was scared I was going to lose the nut at this point. And then you do the positive side. So it's the negative first, then the positive side. And just a little wiggle there, and that should come away. And to give you better access, remove some of the air ducting. This was just a wee Phillips screw, and this gives me better access to the side of the cylinder head. And then remove the air intake into the throttle body. Just use these set of pump pliers, squeeze it, and then wiggle it up till it releases, and leave that connector back on so it's easy to find it. Then you disconnect that pipe, move that out of the way for access. Remove the wire harness from the cylinder head. Here I think I'm unclipping the connector that goes down the back to the oil sensor, and you see this wee bracket there. I think you've got to squeeze these tabs, and then you pull up, and that releases the harness to get it away from the cylinder head. Disconnect the lambda sensor. It's a 4-pin I think connector, and you need to remove the lambda sensor from the exhaust to give you access. Use a 22mm crawfoot on the lambda sensor, it's quite tight. Use a Torx, I think it was T20, to remove that little one. That removes this, I think it was a plastic rail for electrical connectors. Then use a 10mm socket to remove this important earth connector. Then use a 5mm Allen key, and that's to remove the Allen fittings on top of the exhaust manifold. These covers, these are quite tight, sometimes a wee bit WD-40 on top of them just to loosen them up. There's also 2 10mm bolts at the base of the exhaust manifold. They have to be removed to get rid of these covers. Remove the throttle body, 4 T20 Torx fittings. Remove the plastic inlet manifold. It has 7 6mm Allen key fittings. Remove the little bracket from the side of the cylinder head. And also retract the tensioner and take out the bottom bolt for the alternator. Actually, you can take the tensioner off at this point, but I don't show that, I just release it back. Once the alternator is off, you can see the 2 bolts, and this one fits onto the side inlet, the exhaust manifold cover, which is a real pain to remove. Remove the coolant cap to allow the coolant to drain down, and release the bottom hose and run your coolant into a bucket. Next, you remove the exhaust manifold. Access a wee bit restricted, but there's 7 bolts that have to be removed from the exhaust manifold. Then you also remove these two torx fittings at the base of the manifold to get the cover off. There's two of them, as I said. The manifold can then be removed, and remove the gasket. Then you remove the engine mount. There's 4 bolts there. So they're usually quite tight, so you have to crack them off and then you can zip them off. Jack up the sump. Put a bit of wood so you don't damage the sump, then you can remove the entire engine mount. Then you time up the car, that's at TDC on the camshaft. Buy a tool off eBay for a tenner, pop that in the groove, and that's the camshaft timed up. And then the crankshaft. I've removed the inlet manifold to make it a bit easier to see, and you just pop that in. It should go all the way in. Then you remove the crankshaft pulley, 18mm, a bit tight this one. Then you remove the fittings from the sump. I think there's just the fittings under the timing cover. Then you remove the timing cover. There's a loaded Allen key fittings here, so just keep going, and a couple of other fittings, torch fittings, and that's the cover removed. Now I made up this camshaft holding tool, so you hold the camshaft, you put a socket on that nut, and I think it's 18mm, so you can remove that. But what I'm showing you here is the hydraulic tensioner. Now in order to get the chain off, you have to retract this, so I never filmed this, but push that right back and put a 3mm drill bit or Allen key through the side there, and that keeps that back. Then you can remove the chain. Now this is with the head removed. You can see the burnt exhaust valve on the right, and the one in the middle is ready to go soon as well. So I had to get new exhaust valves, cut the seats, and new valve guides. And I'll just show you reassembling the head now. Now I'm going to show you reassembling the cylinder head. Make sure you get the gasket in the right position. The oil holes are at the bottom left there. That's the head. Has been refurbished. Nice and clean. The dowel's in position, and you then pop the head on. Once the head is seated properly, you then get your 8 head bolts. Now with the head bolts, you give them a light oil, so just oil them up, then rub them in a cloth. Just a light oil. You do not want this to hydraulic. And actually what I had to do was blow out the holes to get rid of some of the coolant that got in there. You must blow out these holes. Now you torque these head bolts initially to 30 Newton meters, and you can see that on the diagram there, and that's the order in which you tighten up the head bolts. So it's 30 Newton meters, 90 degrees, then 90 degrees. So that's me just torquing them all. You probably need to torque them in 30, do the rest, and go back and keep checking them to make sure they're all at 30 Newton meters. I think that equates to about 22 pounds foot. That's me just speeding it up. That bit of paper just kept falling. I was just kept following the order of that for the tightening sequence. In order to blow out these holes, actually going back to that, what I had to do was get an air line and put a bit of brake pipe on it and make an extension, get right into the hole and blow it out, because the engine builder just said that the head's made of alloy, and one bit of pressure it would just strip out the threads, so that's a warning. The next thing you do is mark up your head bolts with Tipp-Ex. Mark them all at the 12 o'clock position, because you're going to take them and turn them to the 3 o'clock position, then the 6 o'clock position. So that's 90 degrees, then 90 degrees, and follow them in the correct order. So that's we just take them to the first position of 3 o'clock, and then the next time I go to the 6 o'clock position. Now I'm going to put in the hydraulic tappets, so this is where the camshaft is placed about, so give everything a light oil. So make sure you get them in the right order. So I'm putting my exhaust valve and tap it in, and then I put the inlet one, so you just keep them in the correct order in which you took them out. I use this little yogurt pot and put some oil just to keep them lubricated. So that's them all in. So I then clean up that surface. I don't want any oil there because I'm going to put this, well, before I do that I was going to put gasket down, but I install my camshaft. Now the camshaft cover, you've got to clean that up well because you're going to be putting that instant gasket sealer on there. So that's all cleaned, and make sure it's spotless. That's me just showing you. I don't know why I'm showing you at this point. That's my exhaust manifold, but I don't know why I done that. Anyway, so this is the instant gasket stuff. So I put it in a little syringe, and you can control the flow of it a bit better. So you just go around the edge. Now I made a mistake here. I went too near the edge, and I had to go back and do it. But just you're better with too little rather than too much, because if you've got too much, it just splots right into the head, and that's me fine. But you see in this edge closest, I had to do it again because I was out with it. So that's me assembled it. I used my timing tool to keep the camshaft locked. Then I tightened it down. You can see the camshaft there, the black thing sticking out on the right hand side. Now you've got to torque down these bolts. I think they're about 30, and I think it was a turn of 90. I can't remember, but just same kind of sequence. And remember the bolt, it goes underneath the oil filler cap. I never showed you that, or maybe I do. So you tighten them all down. So I hope that you found that video helpful. I've had to abandon the project at this point because I've run out of time. So see how you get on with if you ever tackling this job in a Polo. That gives you some hints and tips. Thanks for watching. Bye.